When you're looking to sell a business, one of the biggest things you need to determine right off the bat is what your discretionary earnings is. So what is discretionary earnings? Well, first of all, understanding that you as the business owner, you're trying to save as much as you possibly can on your taxes. What's your CPA trying to do? Your CPA is trying to save as much as possible on your taxes. What we do as business brokers is we're going to work with you to determine how much you're actually making from this business by unwinding all that so that we can present that to a buyer so the buyer can look at it and go, if the business continues to operate in the same manner, this is how much they can expect to make from the business. So what is discretionary earnings and how do we come up with discretionary earnings? First thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the net profit of the business. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at your owner's salary, because we're going to assume that whoever buys the business is going to be an owner operator, so they'd be taking over your salary. So we'd be taking the salary plus the net profit. Next thing we'd be looking at is interest expense, and we'd be adding back the interest expense, usually 100%, sometimes not always, and that's something we can go more in if we ever talk. But the interest expense we'd be adding back because you'd be paying off all your loans on the day of closing, and the buyer would be taking over your business free and clear of any loans that you have on the business. Now, they might have to get their own loan to acquire the business, but we're going to be adding back that interest expense on the loans that you're going to be paying off. The next thing we're going to be adding back is depreciation and amortization, because those are non-cash expenses. So we're going to be adding those two back. Then we're going to be looking at any benefits that you're paying through the business for you personally. So if you're paying your personal health insurance through the business, if you set up a 401k through the business, your portion, you, not your employees, but your portion of the 401k or the health benefits, we're going to be adding that back as well. The next thing we're going to be looking at is any discretionary expenses that you might be running through the business that are really not needed for the business itself. We'd be adding that back as well. And then we'd be looking at things like one-time or very unusual expenses. So if last year you invested in 2 new air conditioning units on the top of your building and they were $8,000 a piece, that's not something that would need to be replaced for many, many years, 10, 15 years, so that we can add that back. And when we come up to the bottom, we add back all that stuff. That is what the discretionary earnings is. And you say to a buyer, this is the discretionary earnings that you can expect to make from the business if the business continues to operate or you run it the same way that the seller ran it, and then they can determine how they want to take the money.